with open hearts and open minds. First United Methodist Church in Pueblo, Colorado presents Hope and Coffee with Pastor Hugo Venegas.
Hi, this is Hugo Venegas. Welcome to Hope and Coffee. It is Friday. Happy Friday. We're closing out our series on lessons of hope and lessons of the faces of hope, lessons of hope from the life of Abraham. We're closing out that series today. And we're talking about this week living beyond our fears, living beyond the fears of natural disasters, of famine, of anxiety, of losing someone who's precious, and the fear of death. And today we're going to talk about the fear of illness. But here's a spin that I want to talk about. And what I want you to know is that sometimes our own fears can create illnesses in the lives of others. All right, let me repeat that. Our own fears can create illnesses in the lives of others. And we have seen that through parents who are afraid of something. And then they pass that fear on to their kids. And then their kids pass that fear on to their grandkids. I was hanging out. I told you about my friend Maria. This is a university student who is volunteering to help the people in your king. And she went with us and my brother and my sister and my brother-in-law and my sister and a couple of other friends. We went up to the village, and Maria was talking about how her mother is so controlled by fear. And she's telling me, my mom is afraid of this. My mom is afraid of that. And I'm like, where did she get that from? And she goes, oh, she got it from her grandmother. And then she was telling me what she was afraid of and how her grandmother controlled her mom and how her mom now is trying to control her. And she told me stories that I was like, what? No way. And I saw how the fear of the grandparents were controlling the grandkids. The same thing. In my family, there is a history of illness. I have had over a half a dozen relatives who have died of cancer. So one of my my cousins is sick, and the first thought that she says, it may be cancer. And she's freaking out because she's so afraid of illness. And where is this coming from? From all the other relatives that keep saying, you have a cold, it may be cancer. You know, you have a headache, it may be cancer. And the whole family, we're all controlled by that fear of cancer because those who went ahead of us were so afraid because of the history of it that we are no longer free. We freak out. I mean, a couple months ago, I had a spot that came out here. And I remember asking some of the ladies, do you know of someone that I can go see, man? And I went and I checked it out quickly. And I was like, praise Jesus, when the lady said that. I remember you heard me tell that story, that when she looked at the spot, she said, that's due to old age. So I got an old man spot on my face. But I thank God that it's okay. But we're afraid of illness, and illness can be driven by the fear of others. And this is what's going on. It's a very interesting story because remember, Abraham is afraid of losing his wife. He's afraid of losing his wife, and he's afraid that the Egyptians are going to attack us. But look what his fear does to the Egyptians. So if you have your Bibles, Genesis chapter 12, verse 14, it says, when Abraham came to Egypt, the Egyptians saw that she was very beautiful woman, Sarai. And when Pharaoh's officials saw her, they praised her to Pharaoh, and she was taken into his palace. He treated Abraham well for her sake, and Abraham acquired sheep and cattle, male and female donkeys, men servants and maid servants and camels. You see what's going on? The Egyptians saying to Pharaoh, hey, there is a guy, has a sister. His name is Abraham, and he's got a sister. She is hot. She is drop dead gorgeous. And they're sending sheep, and they're sending cattle, and they're sending stuff over to Abraham, and they bring her to the palace because they're ingratiating Abraham so that she can be brought to the palace. But notice what happens, all right, in verse 17. But the Lord inflicted serious diseases on Pharaoh and his household because of Abraham's wife Sarai. So Pharaoh summoned Abraham. What have you done to me? He said. Why didn't you tell me she was your wife? Why did you say she's my sister so that I took her to be my wife? Now then, here is your wife. Take her and go. Then Pharaoh gave orders to Abraham. Gave orders about Abraham to his men, that they sent him on his way and his wife with everything he had. Oh my goodness. Do you see the trouble that Abraham got Pharaoh involved in? Because he tells Pharaoh and tells the men that Sarai is not his wife, is his sister. So she's so gorgeous that Pharaoh brings her into the palace to prepare her to be his wife. And as soon as he brings her into the palace, God allows illness to sit in the household of Pharaoh. Now, is this Pharaoh's fault? No. Whose fault is it? Abraham. Abraham is lying. Abraham is giving false information. And who is getting the illness? Pharaoh's household. And all I'm trying to say from a psychological perspective and a spiritual perspective is that the very things that we are afraid of can inflict issues in the lives of the people around us. Parents who are afraid of stuff transmit their fears down to their kids. Grandparents who are afraid of stuff transmit their fears down to the generations that come. And this is a psychological reality, and it's a spiritual reality, and that's why we need to live beyond our fears. Carl Jung, who is a famous psychiatrist, has basically said that one of the ways that we can allow our kids to be fearless in life can only happen when parents begin to live fearless lives. If we are, as parents, are courageous, then our kids will be courageous. If we own our stuff up and we own our anxieties and we cast them to the Lord, then our kids can be free to live their lives and they're not living under the cloud of our fears. And that's what happened to Pharaoh. There was a cloud of illness over Pharaoh and his household that came from where? Father Abraham. Father Abraham was afraid, and his fear brought illnesses. So I want us to pray that whatever we are afraid of, that we will confront that fear. Even in our own old age, we can live fearlessly. And when we live fearlessly, when we live courageously, we do not make our grandkids susceptible to being claustrophobic, to living with the phobia of that cloud of fear that we have in our lives. Fear of being poor, fear of dying, fear of getting sick, fear that our paycheck is not going to last. All these fears we can inflict the generations that are coming up. So I want us to say, Lord, liberate me from my fears. Allow me to live a life that is courageous, a life that is grateful, a life that is peaceful. Deliver us from the fear of violence. Deliver us from the fears of the culture. Deliver us from the fear that is not enough. Deliver us from the fear that if that someone else is going to take my stuff away. We have to be delivered from those fears, because otherwise we pass on the dark cloud of anxiety onto the upcoming generations. So it is my challenge to us as we close out the session that we can go out and to know that living in a world of pandemic, we have to take care of ourselves. We have to be smart. We have to be wise. We have to practice the best health practices, but we should not allow fear to hijack our lives. We can have fun in a pandemic. We can worship God in the middle of a pandemic. We can make our businesses prosper in the middle of a pandemic, but we should not allow fear to dictate our lives. This is Hugo Venegas. Have a happy Friday. God bless you. Have a phenomenal weekend. I look forward to beginning a new series coming up next Monday. And God bless you. Have a phenomenal weekend. Hugo Venegas from the First United Methodist Church in Pueblo, Colorado.
Thank you for joining us. If you enjoyed our inspirational Bible study, like or subscribe below. Join us for worship online or in person. You can visit us at firstumcpueblo.org, or you can come by at 310 West 11th Street, Pueblo, Colorado 81003. Give us a call, 719-544-1917, and join us again tomorrow for another inspirational Bible study. We'll see you soon.